everybody, and welcome back for another episode of the Five Guys on Live. We are joined by Benjamin DaCosta. Benjamin, welcome back. It's great to have you join the gentleman for another great dissection and dialogue of the topics that are mattering in our world. So gentlemen, how are you guys doing? Has it been a great week?
It's been a great week. We missed you last week, Vince.
Yeah, it's great to see Vince, right? You know, he is another year older. And so as Vince just celebrated a birthday today, former castmate and good friend CJ is celebrating a birthday. So if you see him in those Atlanta streets, tell our friend CJ happy birthday. He is the host of the podcast that you can stream on Spotify and Apple Music. Darius, what's the name of the podcast?
Pride, Love, and Ego. You can find the
Pride, Love, and Ego. You know that CJ was our resident pop culture guy, and so now he's branched out doing his own thing, and I think that is a podcast that you will enjoy. And as we talk about a podcast that you will enjoy and news to talk about, one thing that's rocking the pop culture world is the recent story involving this young man right here, the one and the only Jussie Smollett. Jussie Smollett, I think, who brought this story to the table? Tell us about old Jussie. Juicy Jussie.
I thought that was you, but just so we know.
I didn't pick no Juicy Jussie. It's my story.
Jussie has been in the news since January 2019, where he supposedly and allegedly faked this hate crime that was done to him. And so I think we talked a little bit about it last week on how he took the stands and some other things came out. But the jury has now come back with a verdict of 5 guilty. And so he stands to be in jail, I think up to 3 years and up to like $50,000 in fine or $25,000 in fines. And so we'd love to hear the thoughts on the guys about Jussie and the recent incidents. Do you think, one, he can come back from this? Because as we know, we talked a little bit about it as well. The new movie that he has out, B-Boy Blues, is kind of raving with some of the audience, and they're saying it's a good movie. He's one of the executive producers of that. So I think I don't want his talent to be overseen. So let's talk about it.
So wait a minute. Now, when you talk about raving talent, have you seen the movie?
No, but some people have said it.
Has anybody? Wait, let me go ahead.
I think Darius said he saw it.
I saw the movie. It was good.
Okay.
You didn't like the movie, Zach?
I ain't seen it.
So how you think this?
I haven't seen it. But what I have seen is Jussie Smollett, and it doesn't look like he could produce a great film. So I haven't seen it. But I'm going to give the film a chance, and maybe over the holiday break, I will add it to my long list of things to do.
You'll have to download the app because it's not on any mainstream streaming service. You'll have to download the app, child.
Yet. It'll be out.
Well, hey.
My phone is apped up. Ain't no more room.
It might be on Signal 23.
Then I watch it.
Okay, he gonna be in jail before it make it to Netflix. He's gonna be locked up somewhere.
So do we think he's really gonna get locked up, as well as do we think he can't come back from this?
I think he should be locked up.
Yes.
This, I don't know. I mean, I think the only thing in his defense is the fact that we are the United States of amnesia. So I think in 5-6 years from now, just inevitably he could possibly sort of carve his way, back into the thing. But this is my issue, my major issue with this whole story. Even though this quote unquote hate crime was a hoax, people actually have been murdered from hate crimes. People have actually, like lynching, what our ancestors went through were hate crimes. This should not, in my opinion, be taken lightly. I feel like even the maximum that he can receive is 3 years or $25K. That is still a slap on the wrist, in my opinion. I feel that this should be held in the same likeness and gravity as a scam, as a fraud, IRS fraud, how people get, they get, crucified for millions and billions and get thrown underneath the jail for decades on decades on decades for doing fraud and scams and things of that nature in terms of people's finances. And I think when you are talking about people's livelihood, when you're talking about social justice, when you're talking about things that tremendously impact a community, especially marginalized communities, which he is a part of, two of them, being Black and being gay, it's like, bro, like, I really want him to sit in that cell and think about you telling a story about you potentially being hung versus people, your ancestors that were actually hung by racist acts, by hate crimes, and lost their lives. And you sitting up here just trying to go off scotch-free, thinking it's okay. That ain't cool. And then my other thing is, I don't appreciate that the brothers, even though they did whatever, came around the corner because their lives was on the line, threw him under the bus. Y'all as complicit as he is as well. They need to be receiving the same severity in the crimes as Jussie is or what have you. And then I also think that they are pretty just dumb. This man offered to pay y'all $3,500, not $35,000. $3,500. $3,500 divided by 2, not $3,500 a piece. $3,500 divided by 2 to sit up here and stage a hate crime hoax, threatening to kill this man's life. Hell, if y'all seen the House of Gucci, at least Patricia paid $600,000 to get her husband off.
Patricia Gucci. Patricia.
That's besides the point. Whatever her name is,
Patricia Gucci.
Wonderful. Great for her. The lady gave $600,000 to murder this man, and Jussie sit up here giving them $3,500. That is crazy to me. So at the end of the day, he needs to be held way longer than 3 years, and he definitely needs to be given the city of Chicago all the money that they spent, all them resources, all them hours, all that time that they spent investigating. He need to refund them that money back. Because at the end of the day, I guarantee you, in January 2019, there was probably, unfortunately, hella people that lost their lives because Chicago is such a violent city that them resources and them cops should have been focused on versus his idiotic, moronic, celebrity-driven, power-driven, whatever the intent was. They should have been focusing on things that mattered, not him trying to publicize off of because Empire was going off the air. And that's how I feel about it.
Well, Vince,
Now, listen, well, Vince was very passionate about that. Like, I'm very passionate about Patricia Gucci. Now, listen, Vince, I agree with you 100%. Zachary and Vince are in agreement. But I want to say this. Now, this is what the New York Times reported. And what they said is that Jussie Smollett was receiving death threats throughout for a series of time, and he was receiving a lot of racist trolling and homophobic trolling, and the authorities were failing to take it seriously. And so this was, in the opening arguments of the prosecution's case, his attempt to retaliate against a failed system. Does that in any way make you guys feel a little bit better about what he did, or no?
No.
I will say I lived in Chicago during this time and was actively working in the social justice movement on the ground in Chicago. And I would say this situation really hurt the social justice movement of Chicago and all the people that have really been putting the time and the effort into really trying to make a change. Facts are facts. The Chicago Police Department is corrupt as fuck. Like, let's not forget that. This was also around the time of Laquan McDonald. The shooting happening with that. And then also Black and brown trans women were going missing or being murdered in Chicago, and nobody was saying anything about that. And so, yeah, all these things. And then he comes in, he was a visitor shooting Empire. And like they were saying in the comments, he was getting written off. His character was getting written off because it kind of completed its arc in Empire. And this was somewhat of a PR move in a way, like you said, of trying to expose this failed system, but also keep your name a little bit relevant in the spotlight. And it did more harm than anything. And it did not only just harm, the Chicago Police Department, all the resources that could have been used to other things. It harmed the movement that had gained so much traction up until that point, and it just invalidated almost everything that we had been working for.
I won't accept that. I mean, I understand what you're saying, Benjamin, and the facts are the facts, the reality is the reality. But people who have chosen to ignore the movement simply because Jussie made a bonehead move are people who never really cared about the movement in the first place. And so if one person making the decision to go out there and stage a hoax can derail an entire movement, was it really moving in the first place? And so I don't think that we can nail that to him. I think that people really have to have a change in their heart before they can really work for change and continue to work for change and not look for excuses not to work for change. In terms of the funding that the Chicago Police Department decided to use in this case, they had no intentions of proving that Jussie was right in this situation. The only reason that they spent so much money and time investing into this case was so that they could back up Donald Trump and, you know, make sure that his the whole Jussie saying this was Trump supporters, make sure they proved him wrong about that. And so that's another instance where if they knew that this wasn't real, then they could have not spent as much time focusing on this case, because it really was from the beginning. Everybody who saw this from the beginning said this shit don't make no sense. And so it's like a lot of conflated things that will say, well, he should be held accountable because this happened, or he should be held accountable because this happened. At the end of the day, he made a false statement that's against the law. Whatever the penalty is, let him pay it. But in terms of the other, I guess, repercussions of his actions, those were not of his making. Those people would do that either way. They are looking for an excuse. And if Jussie is the excuse, then Jussie will be an excuse. If they can find another excuse, they will find another excuse. I don't think that lies completely on him.
So we just move on just because, again, like I hear the people are commenting from the rip. People are like, I don't care, move on. But we are not going to continue to belabor. Everybody's like, move on. Malik said, are we going to talk about the Sex and the City spinoff in the after show? Joseph Body Be a Job, maybe that will also be in the after show. But we do have other topics to talk about.
I just want to say one thing.
They won't let me stop.
But because Deborah mentioned the meltdown, and I think that's the piece that we probably fail to realize, because he might have had some mental issues, and that's what they need to be addressing now, that he needs to
drug use.
And drug use. And so I think that's not becoming a topic of at hand. And so that might need to be discussed. But we can move on.
Now look, they sat up here. And the man said he had got them brothers and they used to go to the saunas and have fun times. And I hope that they were doing, having safe fun times. He's getting ready to go to jail. The name of tonight's episode is The Pull-Out Method. We named it not because of Jussie and what we hope is not going to happen in incarceration, but because of what's happening with this man right here. Vince, tell us about it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So the 2022 Grammy Award nominations have just been released, and Drake has come out and has pulled his 2 nominations of 2 songs of the album that he released this year out, just out from being considered or what have you. So right now with him doing that, it's a lot of speculation as to why. Drake has been pretty, I guess we can say, communicative or whatever, passionate about how the Grammys have been problematic in years past, about them sort of shading certain people from being nominated, people not winning that he feels should have won. The whole thing with, just Black people, Black artists not receiving the recognition, minority artists rather not receiving the recognition that, maybe they should receive in terms of the Grammy Awards. So, I just wanted to bring it up because I know a lot of times we do talk about like the Oscars, we do talk about the Emmys. I remember we were talking about like Oscars So White and all these things. Do you think that, and I feel like in the midst of that, the Grammys have sort of just been under the radar and all of the award show hoopla or what have you? Do you feel like this is, the I guess we can say the lighting of the match for more artists to sort of really join in on the bandwagon and force the Grammy, the Recording Academy, to change and review their policies on how they're just drumming up these things? Or is it the conversation we always say, in terms of Black people or other minority communities, just putting more stock and investment in premium in award shows that are more garnered towards our communities. So yeah, just wanted to get your thoughts around it.
I mean, Vince, I feel like there has been conversations about racial bias with the Grammys for as long as it has been with the other mainstream award shows. I think that I saw some numbers that from 2012 to 2020, Black artists received 26% of nominations for the awards, while they represented over 38% of all artists on the Billboard Top 100 charts. So that in and of itself is a glaring, representation of how Black artists have been treated at the Grammys. I've been stopped watching the Grammys. I think that Drake pulling out of the Grammys is going to have the same type of effect that wasn't Simone Biles pulling out of the Olympics. I think it might have that. I think it might have that same type of effect where the one of the largest artists is saying that, y'all don't respect Black people in our craft, so I'm going to pull out. Maybe it'll give other people permission to do the same. However, I think one thing that we find is like, even with, I know y'all don't like her, but Nicki Minaj, like, she tried this a while back. It didn't work for her. So I'm interested to see how it'd be different coming from a Black man as opposed to coming from a Black woman.
I agree with this 100%, Lydia. Like, we should let award shows go entirely. They are rigged. It's all about the industry, and a lot of really good. We need to also pull out of our support. I hope that it has a good effect. I didn't know about Nicki Minaj's boycott. If that's something that she did previously and it was for the right reasons, I support her. I do know about the Weeknd last year boycotting the Grammys, and I know about Jay-Z and his issues with the Grammys. Here's the thing. These systems are all a part of the big problem that upholds the oppression of marginalized voices in the United States of America. And it's not just the Grammys, it's the Emmys, it's the Oscars, it's the Golden Globes, it's all of them. So I'm choosing, and I made this decision last year with the Oscars to no longer support any of these award shows, to not watch them, to give them no credit, to give them no time, to give them no PR push, because it's not something that I think that we should be uplifting. We should be praising the artists for the work they do and the art they produce, not some arbitrary awards created by an industry that's meant to uphold these faulty notions of what is appropriate to be a part of mainstream American culture. And you're right. A number of artists have failed to get any recognition for their work, although they are making the industry, making billionaires 2 times over. So these artists are like Meg and people who just had phenomenal years this year on the Billboard. They are the ones who are bringing in major cash to the industry, yet they're not getting recognized. We're going to recognize Billie Eilish, whatever her name is. Yep, she had COVID. God bless her. We're gonna recognize Billie instead. I'm not knocking Billie. I have not listened to anything on this new album. They say it's great. She got a lot of nominations. God bless her and her, musty looking clothes. But unfortunately, I think that again, it's all upholding, a false system, and I want to see it fall.
So, is it better to pull out of a system and fix it from the outside, or fix it within the system to change the minds and the hearts of the people in the system? I'm just throwing it out there because you are a big component of how we need to utilize our white brothers and sisters as allies, advocates, and counterparts, and a system is not gonna change until we change their hearts. So pulling out is better than fixing it within. I'm just throwing it out there.
Zach, I am all about and firmly believe and will repeat and reiterate multiple times that it is white allies who are the only ones able to tear down the systems of racism because they're the ones who benefit. That has nothing to do with the systems of capitalism. That this is not an issue of racism as much as it is an issue of capitalism and how you position artists to be leaders in the capitalist society. So this is what takes the work of all of us. We all must boycott these award shows. We must all call attention to their inequities so that they can no longer have power over pop culture. I saw your girl, Nasty Face, from The Real. What's her name? I don't like her no more. I was cool with Mama on The Real, but now I don't like her. What's her name? Y'all know I don't watch the show, okay?
What does she
I
do?
not watch the show.
What does she do?
Lonnie Love?
What's her name?
Lonnie Love?
Lonnie Love, yeah. Lonnie Love. I watched one episode of The Real because this was the topic, and I went through the internet looking for clips so I could be try to have at least be fair, right? Because I have an opinion, I want to be fair. And I saw your friend, your homegirl, your role model, Lonnie Love from The Real. And Lonnie Love said on The Real that, you know, they were all excited about the Grammys. And what's the one girl on the show who called the girl bad names, who I like, Maturi. I think she was nominated for a Grammy this year as well. What's her name?
Adrian Barlow?
Yeah, whatever her name is. The only Barlow I know and love is Lisa. Anyway, so she was
nominated.
What's her name?
Anyway,
she too was nominated for a Grammy, and they were just all excited. And Lonnie Love was actually attacking Drake and saying Drake is just doing this because he didn't get nominated for the big awards like Album of the Year and Song of the Year. And I'm like, she missed the whole point. Lonnie Love completely missed the whole point. She has no clue. She is not woke. She sleep at the wheel. Roll her off The Real and get somebody on there who know what they're talking about. Bring back, what's that girl I don't like? I'm gonna let her get another chance at that. What's the girl that I used to like?
Amanda Seales.
Bring back Amanda Seales.
I had a problem with Lonnie Love and a lot of her takes for a long time. In general, I think that she's one of those words I don't like to say, but yeah, she one of them. I don't like the way they did Tamar Braxton. I think she had a lot to do with that. But I'm gonna leave that to y'all to keep talking about. But yeah, I did want to address it. Somebody said something about Nicki Minaj having a bad attitude. My homegirl Candy said that Nicki Minaj got a bad attitude. Maybe they accepted better from Drake. I'm always cautious about when a black woman stands up for herself in the industry. It does not matter who she is. She's always labeled as having a bad attitude. So if having a bad attitude is standing up for yourself in the industry, then by all means, saying they have a bad attitude, nasty attitude, terrible attitude. But do what you got to do to make sure that these men don't disrespect you in your respective industry.
Sign the barb. Sign the barb. Pull up in the street line.
Period.
That I think also we have to remember is that awards aren't representative of the talent of each artist. Because just because they have 20 Grammy Awards doesn't mean that they're not a talented artist at the same time. Because there's plenty of people that are playing out in your local clubs that are sickening and have amazing music that will probably never, ever be nominated for a Grammy Award. So I think we have to remember that. And then two, we also have to remember who are these people that are creating these nominations, because like to consider Justin Bieber an R&B artist, like that blows my mind. And then if you look at the categories this year and just look at how they nominated, it just makes me think that a bunch of white women just went to a Starbucks and started picking out artists and being like, that sounds cool. That sounds cool. And like, they were just like, okay, we have an award show now. So I think we really just need to start changing the people in power to really have people in power that understand music inside and out and not also represent all the cultures and all the backgrounds of each genre of music, not just one particular kind.
You know, I will not watch this year's Grammys unless Adele and Megan do their collaboration. If they do that collaboration that's like all over TikTok, I'm going to watch. But that's the only way that I will be able to watch the Grammys. And only then when you guys text, hey, it's going to come on, will I watch it. And so, again, Deborah says, why are we as a people upset because a predominantly white show won't acknowledge our music? They don't even listen to half of it. Probably got a good point there.
Well, not necessarily, because when you look at the crowd at all the major festivals with Travis Scott and Drake and all these people, it's primarily white people going to them concerts. So they're listening to.
Don't be the only people performing at these festivals, though.
Unless it's a Beyonce concert, because we be up in there on the front row. So yeah, we may pull out. Drake is pulling out of the Grammys. We may also pull out of the Grammys. I don't know if that's what Don Lemon did in this allegation or not. We know that last week we talked about Chris Cuomo facing and leaving and being removed from CNN, being removed because of his issues with sexual misconduct. Now we have calls from conservative media to have the exact same thing happen to Don Lemon. This is from a 2019 allegation. This is the young man. His name is Dustin Heiss. He was a bartender in the Hamptons. Supposedly, Don Lemon made aggressive and unwanted claims for his attention and touched on his person. Gentlemen, do we think that the allegations against Don Lemon should receive the exact same amount of scrutiny and possible action that happened for Chris Cuomo?
No, because the thing with Chris Cuomo is that he actively was assisting and providing counsel to his brother in an investigation in a governmental role. So there's a complete different aspect to that. I think, yes, this should be investigated. However, it needs to be investigated. But with Chris Cuomo, it was a completely different level of trying to hide something from, or keep something, or intimidate something from coming out to the public. So I think there's two different levels to that, but they both should be equally investigated to the fullest to get all the information.
And so here we go. Right now, they're gonna say you're talking too much, but there was a whole silent moment of no talking. Annette said Don flirted with him. I think Don may have done a little bit more than flirt. The accusation is that Don was drunk and Don made aggressive, unwanted movement towards Dustin Heiss. Dustin Heiss has been talking about this with Fox News. It's been all over Fox News. He's continuously giving Fox News reports since 2019. It comes up, it goes away, it comes up, it goes away. Now, Benjamin, what I heard is, or I read where that CNN supposedly gave Cuomo the axe because of both events, and that it was a sexual misconduct allegations that got him truly kicked off the network.
Just how we feel about Jussie, I feel about the same about Don. Pull out.
Okay, let the chips fall where they may. I don't even care at this point.
So, and so when we have a 20-minute show because no one wants to talk about anything, then what will you do? Now, you know damn well that some weeks it's hard to find news stories and there's not a lot of news. So I don't know what you want to talk about on the dang show if it's not the freaking news. But we too will move on. Deborah has started a brand new precedent of just, I don't want to hear that tonight. Move on. And here we go, moving on. We will move on now to...
But I do, to Deborah's point, I do feel like Don Lemon is sitting in a gray area with a lot of people right now. Zach, I didn't even think you were going to, I mean, I know we're talking about this incident, but I thought we were going to talk about the whole
Don and Jussie. Don and Jussie.
That's also a part of the allegation.
And how they could sort of, try to connect that to, the Chris and his brother texting kind of thing or have you.
Right.
I just need to stop texting each other.
Yeah. I didn't know to what extent, though. Has that been like fully fleshed out and thoroughly made, like investigated?
I don't know. I don't know if it's been fully fleshed out. I just think at this point, like there should be a fine line between just what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And if you're in a place of power, unfortunately, because that's your position, you just don't have that, I guess, right. That they may sound a little harsh to like give your friend a leg up, or like, hey, such and such is asking me about you. Hey, this is what you need to do. Hey, the media is coming for you. You just shouldn't do it. Like you just shouldn't do it because unfortunately, stuff gonna hit the fan. It's gonna come out around the way eventually. But yeah, that's what I thought you were gonna
go. Darius, I think.
I was gonna say, I'm just noticing a trend. It's like whenever non-Black people get dinged for doing something, it's like people are searching and looking for ways to conflate stuff that Black people have done or to say that they've done the same thing. Because even with the whole, I'm sure we'll talk about Housewives of Salt Lake City on our after show, but even with that situation, it's like, oh, well, Jen Shaw, we didn't go hard on Jen Shaw, so let's go hard on Mary Cosby. And I understand that Jen is a person of color, but I feel like in the comment section, there are a lot of people that are like, well, if a white person said some of the things that Mary said about Mexicans, then they would be fired. And I don't think it's the same type of situation, but I do think that in situations like this, people who are not Black look for ways to line up situations like this to say that people play favoritism to Black people, which we all know is not the case.
I think I was just going to add, it's just interesting how once you're in the limelight or a pseudo celebrity, you can't really be a person. And so if this man allegedly touched his other man, or if he was just flirting, it could be construed as something different because I'm in a limelight. And so I got to wait for you to come to me and show that you was flirting with me or that you're interested. I can't pursue you because it might be allegedly assault, allegedly misconduct, sexual misconduct. And so it's like interesting to see once I'm in the limelight or in a person of a popularity that I can't be a person anymore. It is about money grab. I agree.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I advocate that we believe victims until male, female, otherwise. But again, I agree. Zach makes a really good point. His name is Dustin Heiss. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Now, I'm inclined to say that maybe it is more of a situation where it's about Fox News discrediting as well as maybe a money grab, just because these allegations have been circulating since 2019 and no substantive action has yet to take place.
And to that credit, Zach, about the Fox News thing, when the Don situation came out, when I Googled it, the first 10 clips, headlines was all Fox News reporting. Like no other news sources was talking about it. Nobody was giving it the light of day. It was Fox News, Fox Sports, Fox Soul, Fox Media, Fox, everybody, Christianity, everybody just Fox. And I just feel like this is just a smear, a strategic attack from Fox. And I think the larger conversation is the fact that Chris has resigned from Fox and has been given a position at CNN to host his own streaming service. Now, I think that will streaming show, whatever that is. You know what I'm trying to say? I think that's the bigger picture. I just think Fox is trying to throw some jabs out there, though. Trying to jab folk.
Very well could be the case. So from there, gentlemen, we go to our next topic, and this is about the Great Resignation. Many people all across the United States of America have participated, and there are lots of questions out there, lots of things being said, all about the numbers of people that have left the traditional jobs they've had, whether they've left to go into independent work for themselves or if they've left to go into different jobs. This is becoming a major issue that may have backlash in a number of areas. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts about the Great Resignation, whether or not you participated, someone who's been impacted by it? Do you think this is actually a good thing for the American economy, for American workers, or is this something that we're going to have major societal regrets about in the years to come?
I think there's a lot of potential outcomes to this, Zach. I do feel, speaking for myself personally, at the stadium, we had a roster of about 45 people in my department. Going back once the doors open, we only got 7 people that are showing up. And a lot of people, and I know Zach has mentioned this in previous episodes, how Americans have more money in their savings, during the pandemic and all this stuff. So I do feel like there's a piece of the puzzle where people have, taken their savings and are going to just ride off on it until it runs out. And then I do think there's a portion of people that are going to reinvest it, start their businesses, really, become entrepreneurs and all these things. Only think that time will tell to see how it'll hit our economy. But I think the greatest shock factor is for these larger, I guess we could say larger corporations or corporations in any matter, any aspect or what have you. I think a lot of people are resigning because of the culture of work. It's not good. It has not been good. They were already fighting for decent pay. And then, the long hours. And then I also feel like this Great Resignation has been brewing even before the pandemic. You had the Me Too movement. So women and people are just probably fed up of dealing with the harassment at the job. You got people, you can't come to work with your hair that way. Okay, I'm fed up off of that. Like the workforce it's been so many hard blows that has happened in the past 5 to 6 years. Now that COVID is hit, I think a lot of people sat down and recognized the value that they see in themselves. And even though I may not have a bachelor's or a master's or a doctorate, I know I'm a damn good worker and I know I'm an asset to this company. And y'all not about to sit up here and keep jugging me for my time and belittle me and make me feel inferior and all these things. So, okay, you hit me in my pocket, I'm gonna hit you in your pocket, because just as much as I need this job, you need people to work this job.
And
that's
what we're
doing.
And everything that you've said is definitely on point, Vince, and I agree with it. But then also being a person who works in HR as well, we're having an uptake in openings and people not able to fill it. And so I think this pandemic has also shown something else too. And that's over the past 2 years, we've been able to work and do our job from home. If you're not offering that as an incentive, then I'm not coming to your office, as well as flexible schedule. Like if you're not offering that, then I'm not coming to your facility. And so understanding that you have to rework how you do these jobs from home, as well as within the pay equity that you talked about. So I wholeheartedly agree with that.
No, that's a real, and I think that's a real and true issue. And I can't tell you how many of my friends who are, to Annette's point about every school being short-staffed, it's going to be even more short-staffed, because I can't tell you how many of my friends every day are asking me, how do I get out of the classroom? Like, how do I figure this out? How did you figure it out? And my honest answer is that I found the right wave and wrote it at the right time. And so it's difficult to try to help people understand that it's not as easy as it might look to just say, I want to completely walk away from my profession. But I will tell you that I have several friends who have told me straight up, on this date, I am quitting this job and I will not be going back to a school. And so I know a lot of people are just fed up, and to the point that they would rather figure it out than to be in a system that doesn't honor science in terms of COVID-19, that's not honoring their desires in terms of having a home work balance, or being able to take care of their children in the way that they had been able to over the pandemic. So a lot of people are just walking completely away.
Please do tell those friends to join me on LinkedIn. I am an official LinkedIn creator, and my project is it's called the Educators Incubator. The purpose of this project is specifically for K-12 educators to learn how to advance their careers, whether they're going up the career ladder in education or making the decision to leave altogether. I'm lining up a series of thought leaders to speak about how to advance in the traditional sense of the word, or how to leave altogether and pursue something in the proprietary industry, the entrepreneur industry, or create your own. So please do tell them to join me on LinkedIn. I think several people also had some commentary.
They should be watching this show tonight. So if you're not watching, then I'll think about letting you know.
Also, I think we are in a time where non-traditional work is very big too. So if your job isn't working out, there's, like, for me, I do Uber and Lyft. And so I can literally do that and make plenty of money and set my own schedule, do what I want to make my lifestyle work for me. And there's so many opportunities out there. So like, if your job's not working, you have a fallback plan. Or if you're not going to provide me the rate I need, or the schedule I need, or the benefits, I'm able to do that. The other thing too, I think, is people are finally realizing their value as people within corporations, because these businesses wouldn't run without us. And so these little pennies that they're giving us and throwing at us are shit. And we're not tolerating it anymore, especially for young people freshly coming out of school, having all of this student debt, having all of these things, and you're requiring a master's, a PhD, all these things for minimal salaries. It's just, it doesn't add up.
And when you look at it, I now realize, and I hate to say it, but it was the whole entire race for advanced degrees was really about keeping money in the education industry. And I'm all about, encouraging people to have more education for the sake of education, but you don't necessarily have to have a degree to do that. But now I realize why that was so important and pushed on people, to make us continuously slaves to debt and slaves to a system. And people are waking up and they're being free. I'm so proud of young people for leading this work and doing that. I'm all about it. I'm proud of them. I'm thankful for it. And I just want to give you guys some quick statistics. Number one, 2020, this week, in 2020, In-person dining was down by 62%. Now, in-person dining is only down by 8% when compared to pre-pandemic efforts. So people are going out, people are eating out, people are spending money. 2021 is going to go down as it won't be as high as 2019, but it will be higher than 17 and 16 in terms of people spending discretionary income to eat out. But here's a real teller about the American economy, because people want to say that these job numbers and people leaving represents less money in the economy. In 2019, the average holiday shopping expenditure was $987 a person. In 2020, it was $886 a person. That's the heart of the pandemic. This year, in 2021, it came out based upon a CNBC All-America Economic Survey. The average spending as of right now this year is $1,004. So spending for the holidays is up this year compared to the last 2 years. So all of that speaks to a much better and booming, recovering economy, both numbers, despite the fact that people are quitting and leaving these jobs. That means that people have money. They're leaving these jobs and they're being successful as they do it. And I'm proud of them. I agree with you, Ned. I'm proud of them.
Yeah, and then also shout out to the companies that are catching wind of this and are raising their wages. Like I know Bank of America is now starting at $21. I feel like it's some mobile service that's starting in the 20s. I think the report came out. I'll try to find it. Like around this time last week, I saw a report around it. So shout out to those that are actually wanting to change the culture and treat people better and take care of their people and believe in mental health days, believe in just being good by people. Just being good by people. And I was watching this thing with CBS News. It was a union worker. He said that the minimum wage slave bubble has popped. Like it's been exposed. Nobody's taking it anymore. Nobody's tolerating it anymore. Like Ben said, there's so many opportunities. You can create your own opportunities. Zach, you're doing phenomenal things, getting endorsements and recognition and brand ambassadors. Like jokers out here, like even with Gen Z, these people, these 15, 16, 17-year-olds bringing in like $80,000 off of TikTok. Man, who about to be working at Denny's? Not I.
There's social media influencers who are bringing in 6 figures a month, but there are also, OnlyFans content creators who are bringing in 6 figures, sometimes 7 figures a month. This is the future. And if the American economy and the American capitalist society can't see that, then they need to suffer the consequences of that. If you can't get people to take these Amazon jobs, then Amazon, it's time for you to shut down and move out of business. And again, you think about, you have warehouses, Amazon warehouses that don't allow workers to have cell phones. When you had the tornadoes come through in Kentucky, those workers weren't allowed to, some people weren't even allowed to have cell phones on them because that's against company policy. Those days have come to an end, and I'm thankful to see them in. I am thankful to see them in. With that being said, I don't know, if people are pulling out of the job market, and Issa Rae and team, they're pulling out of HBO. Zach Thomas, this is something that you also brought up. I think this is your topic about what you've learned from the final season of a program called Insecure. If you haven't watched it, it's okay. We're old, but lots of young people like Zach watch it every Sunday. It's faithful. They have parties for it.
I don't know how to take that as a shade or not, but
I'm saying that
I'll let it pass by.
I'm saying you're younger than me and you're cooler than me because you watch Insecure. I don't watch the show. I'm too old.
It's okay. It's not a spoiler. It's more of a recent article that came out in the Gyro about Insecure in this last season, and especially with this not this past episode on this last Sunday, but the one before that kind of did a whole retake or reboot of like Waiting to Exhale and having friendships and that sisterhood. And the article talks a lot about the sisterhood, but I know we are a group of brothers here, and I kind of wanted to bring it to the group and just to talk about it. Posed the question about really cultivating friendships and not really depending a lot on a relationship, because oftentimes we have that bear and push and pull between friendships and relationships. And so I know I've been at this, and this, I'm speaking for myself. I've lost friends because of relationships. And for me, I consider friends an extension of family. And so I wanted to kind of talk to you all about how do you manage friendships and relationships in this age and time. But the show is good though.
That's a really good question, Zach. I feel like once you enter into a relationship and you have the honeymoon phase where you're just completely isolated with that person. Once you sort of move out of that, I think a lot of things hit you like, well, dang, I ain't talked to this person in a while. Dang, I ain't called my mom about 3 days. Like, I think a lot of those things sort of come into your mind. And in that moment, you sort of find, okay, I have to figure out how to balance between the two. Because for me, I believe in definitely investing in my relationship and doing all those great things, but I don't want a lot of the friendships and business partnerships and stuff to fall to the wayside, because I'm just, exclusive with somebody. So I think that you can do both. It's just a way of just balancing the two and just having that conversation, and not even having a conversation, just acknowledging the fact that, yo, I ain't talked to these people in a while. And I don't know if y'all remember that episode of Living Single when Khadijah found that guy. And they was, cozied off for like the whole episode, and Regina and everybody got jealous. And then when they went to the cafe, the guy, best friend, came in. Yo, bro, you ain't been playing basketball with us. So it was like both sides. Khadijah isolated her friends, and then her boyfriend isolated his friends. Like, well, damn, I guess we have been in our own little utopia. We ain't been talking to nobody. And those friendships matter, because in the event that y'all bump heads and y'all arguing, you may need somebody to vent to. But I've been on that side as being a friend, like, well, dang, you ain't talking to me in about 3 months. Now you got an issue. Now you want to come talk to me. You don't know what was I going through? I needed you, partner. You get what I'm saying? You want to have them type of conversations. So yeah, I think you just sort of got to be cognizant around it all.
I'm inclined to agree with. I agree with this, Lydia. You took the words right out of my mouth. In a relationship, your partner really does serve a lot of functionalities, and your partner really is in many ways a best friend. And I mean, they're more than a best friend; they're your family. So I definitely don't think that you should ignore your friends. You should be there with your friends, but you also have to be, I want to say, mindful of what you ask from your friends. I know I am, right? So I can only tell you how I am as a person. And I think that you guys will know this. People know me enough to know that I'm not going to lean on my friends too much, too heavy, or too much, because I know that everyone is dealing with their own issues and everyone has their own problems. So I rarely even go to my friends to give me like friendly help, but I try to be here instead for you, because also everyone is different. Everyone is different. There are things that, I have been dealing with currently that are things that are appropriate for me to lean on for a partner. They're not things that I would want to lean on a friend with. It's just not something I would burden my friends with. So I'm that kind of person where I look at the relationship and what relationship that is in my life and what I would expect from a relationship. I don't expect too much from my friends. I just don't. Because I understand that they're friends and they have their own issues to deal with.
One thing that I liked about this article, it talked about, here it is. But as a community, we'd like to have this ranking system and competition between like the brotherhood, sisterhood, and a romantic friendship or relationship, which, truth be told, none of this was ever designed to be a competition with one another. Both romance and friendships are necessary. They can and should coexist. And so I think people should look at that. I don't think it's a competition. And I think it's okay depending on your friendship. As I said, I consider friends an extension of my family. And so if there are issues that I'm going with that sometimes I don't even go to my family for, I talk to my friends and get sound advice or even been a listening ear. I think you should, that's good. That's a brotherhood. That's a friendship to me.
Well, I also think it depends on the friend. I think we all do that, right? We have tiers of friends and we have circles of friends, and we know who's where. And we all, I do agree that friends are an extension of family, but I also feel as though it's just you have to balance it all out. I guess that's the end of the day. You just got to balance it out. But it seems like if this show gave you that type of, commentary, it may be a show that's worth watching. Again, Insecure is extremely popular. People love it.
I also believe, I personally practice non-monogamy. So I think when it comes to sharing intimate details with friends, there's a level of jealousy that happens, especially when you're actively in a relationship. And so you really have to have that communication with your partner of saying, hey, I have this circle. This is who I lean on, and this is my support system in case there are those dynamics there.
Because you brought it up, Benjamin, what do you mean? Annette asked a question, but that's something that needs greater clarification for some people. What do you mean by non-monogamy, and what do you mean?
Because I showed up Googling over here. I was like, non-monogamy.
So
Benji has a book about it.
Yes. So non-monogamy is also traditionally known as open relationships. So any sort of relationship that is non-exclusive. So yeah, that's the definition.
What's the book?
The book is called More Than Two. It's a really great history lesson on non-monogamous relationships through the decades and the centuries, and also how it was a survival mechanism for communities during hardship.
Annette said you 2'5" for non-monogamy. You 2'5" for monogamy. So I am absolutely wanting to read the book. Not saying that I'm supporting non-monogamy, but I do like to learn. And speaking of learning, one thing that we're not going to pull out of, whether you're non-monogamous or not, is giving you 365 days of Black history.
What? Absolutely hate you for that transition, Zach. I hate you.
I had a question.
Yeah, Vince. Ask that question.
What's the question, Vince?
So with you being non-monogamous, how does that correlate with the friendship piece? Like, do you not?
No, so for me, I am a big believer in different dynamics for different friendships or relationships. So my partner may not check off boxes for me spiritually or emotionally, or I don't expect my partner to check off all those boxes for me. So I have friends that I have a deep connection with in certain aspects that may be partner-like, but they're not my intimate partner.
Okay, cool.
So monogamy it does not necessarily equate sexual. Is what you
not at all.
Got you. She said we call that big pimping.
And that we're gonna remove you from the call.
Now, with that being said, let's pull out tonight's Black History Fact.
You got one more time to say pull out.
Right.
I can't.
That's the name of tonight's episode.
One more time.
Well, okay, for my Black History 365 moment, I hope that Zach will make me big because we're not pulling out, we're actually putting in tonight. And on this day in 1994, the Navy integrated the first African-American women into their corps. Up until that time, Black women were barred from the WAVES, which is the Women Accepted for Volunteer Emergency Services. And the efforts of Mildred McAfee and Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune helped the Secretary of the Navy push through the admittance of Black women into military service. So we pause and celebrate all the Black women who started fighting for our country on that day in 1944. That's our Black History 365 moment.
And can we also do thoughts and prayers for those affected by the tornadoes in the Midwest? So yeah,
for sure.
And all tragedies across the world. All tragedies matter. So, with that being said and shared, thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been a great week with you, and we will catch you soon.
Happy birthday, Nene Leaks. Ooh.
Happy birthday, CJ. Is it also Nene Leaks' birthday?
We said happy birthday to CJ at the beginning of the call.
Well, it's actually not Nene Leaks' birthday, but today is actually the birthday of the one and the only Candace Dillard, December 13th. So happy birthday, my love. We love you, Candace.
Nene's birthday as well. They all share a birthday.
It is Candace's birthday today. So love you, Candace.
Happy birthday, everybody who has a birthday today.
Yeah, all birthdays matter. All birthdays matter. And so unless you're Monique, your birthday doesn't. So with that being said, we'll see you guys soon. And catch us for the after show. We have some good topics. We're going to talk about the Trump rally. Ain't nobody went to it. We're going to talk about Meg Thee Stallion getting some degrees. We're going to talk about the ivermectin man is dead. And we're going to talk about the Sex in the City, whatever that may be. Talk to you soon.